Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into fascinating scientific facts written in the Bible long before modern science discovered them. Science and religion, aren't they constantly at odds? Throughout history, there have been clashes between these two ways of understanding the universe. But both are driven by the same human impulse, the desire to understand our place in the cosmos. When we look at certain Bible passages through modern science, it's remarkable. We see hints of scientific concepts far ahead of their time, concepts understood centuries later. I'm not here to argue for or against any belief. Let's explore the intersection of faith and scientific inquiry. They're not always so far apart. Buckle up as we explore scientific insights in the Bible. Get ready to uncover connections between ancient wisdom and modern science. Let's go. For centuries, our ancestors looked up at the night sky and wondered, what holds up the Earth? It's a fundamental question, one that has captivated cultures across the globe. And in the absence of telescopes and space travel, ancient civilizations came up with some pretty creative answers. The ancient Egyptians, for example, believed that the Earth was a flat disk resting on the back of a giant turtle. The Hindus envisioned the Earth as a platform balanced atop the backs of 4 massive elephants, who in turn stood on the shell of a colossal turtle. And the Greeks? Well, they imagined Atlas, a titan condemned by Zeus, eternally bearing the weight of the heavens on his shoulders. These myths, while imaginative, highlight the human desire to explain the seemingly inexplicable. After all, without a scientific understanding of gravity, it's hard to fathom how a giant spherical Earth could simply hang there, suspended in the vastness of space. But then along came science, revolutionizing our understanding of the universe and our place within it. And one of the most groundbreaking discoveries was the concept of gravity, a force so fundamental that it governs the motion of planets, stars, and even galaxies. It was Sir Isaac Newton, in the 17th century, who first formulated the law of universal gravitation. Newton showed that every object in the universe attracts every other object with a force proportional to their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. In other words, the bigger the objects and the closer they are, the stronger the gravitational pull. This revolutionary idea explained why apples fall from trees, why the moon orbits the Earth, and why the Earth itself revolves around the sun. And it also explained something quite profound. The Earth doesn't need to be held up by anything, because it's in a constant state of free fall around the sun, held in its orbit by the sun's immense gravity. Now, what's fascinating is that centuries before Newton, the Bible hinted at this concept of a suspended Earth. In the book of Job, we find this passage, "Hitcha hangs the earth on nothing." This statement, while poetic, is strikingly accurate when viewed through the lens of modern science. Of course, the Bible wasn't written as a scientific textbook, and it's important to avoid imposing modern scientific interpretations onto ancient texts. But it's nonetheless remarkable to find such a concept, hidden within a text written thousands of years ago, that aligns so closely with our current understanding of the universe. Water, the elixir of life, is constantly on the move. It flows in rivers, pools in lakes, and crashes against the shores as waves. But water also exists in a state of perpetual transformation, cycling through the atmosphere, land, and oceans in a process we call the water cycle. Today we learn about the water cycle in elementary school. We understand that heat from the sun evaporates water from the Earth's surface, turning it into invisible vapor that rises into the atmosphere. As this vapor cools, it condenses into tiny droplets forming clouds. And when these clouds become saturated, the water falls back to Earth as precipitation, rain, snow, sleet, or hail. This cycle of evaporation, condensation, and precipitation is essential for life on Earth. It replenishes our freshwater sources, nourishes our crops, and shapes our weather patterns. Yet, a comprehensive understanding of the water cycle only emerged in the 17th century, thanks to the work of scientists like Pierre Perot and Edmund Halley. The Bible, written thousands of years ago, contains remarkably accurate descriptions of natural processes. In Job, it says, "He draws up the drops of water, they distill his mist in rain, which the skies pour down." This captures evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Ecclesiastes states, "All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full." This highlights the water cycle's continuous nature. Ancient texts show a deep connection between humanity and nature. We humans, we've always been fascinated by the cosmos. The ancient Greeks, the Egyptians, they all looked up at the night sky and wondered, what's out there? Now, for centuries, the prevailing view was that the universe was static, unchanging. It was just there. Then came Edwin Hubble in the 1920s. Using the powerful Hooker telescope, Hubble observed distant galaxies and made a groundbreaking discovery. The universe wasn't static at all, it was expanding. Like bread dough rising in the oven, galaxies were moving away from each other. This expansion implies a beginning, a point in time when everything was much closer together. It's like rewinding a film. If you go back far enough, you reach a point where everything converges. This point, my friends, is what we call the Big Bang. Now, what's fascinating is that the Bible, written long before Hubble's observations, alludes to this expansion. In the book of Isaiah, it reads, "He stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in." A poetic description, wouldn't you say, for the expanding cosmos? Now, this concept of an expanding universe, it's not just some abstract idea. It has profound implications for our understanding of the cosmos. Imagine a balloon with dots on it. As you inflate the balloon, the dots move farther apart, right? That's analogous to what's happening in our universe. The space itself is expanding, carrying galaxies along with it. It's not that the galaxies are moving through space. Space itself is stretching, creating more space between them. This expansion is driven by a mysterious force we call dark energy. We don't fully understand dark energy yet, but we know it's out there, pushing everything apart. It's like an invisible hand stretching the fabric of space-time. So the next time you look up at the night sky, remember this. The universe is not static. It's a dynamic, ever-evolving entity. And who knows? Perhaps hidden within ancient texts are more clues about the cosmos that are waiting to be unraveled by modern science. Now let's shift gears from the vastness of the cosmos to something a bit closer to home, our health. We often take for granted the importance of sanitation, washing our hands, disposing of waste properly. These seem like modern concepts, but the ancient Israelites were already practicing them thousands of years ago. The Mosaic Law, found in the Bible's Old Testament, contains specific instructions on hygiene and sanitation. These laws, given to Moses on Mount Sinai, covered everything from handling food to dealing with bodily waste. They were remarkably advanced for their time. For example, the Israelites were commanded to bury their excrement outside the camp. Now, this might seem like a no-brainer to us, but back then, it was revolutionary. Most ancient civilizations didn't have such practices, and as a result, diseases spread like wildfire. The Israelites were also instructed to wash their hands before eating, and after handling anything considered unclean. These practices, which we now know are crucial for preventing the spread of germs, were laid out in the Bible centuries before the germ theory of disease was even conceived. It wasn't until the 19th century, with the pioneering work of scientists like Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch, that we truly began to understand the link between germs and disease. Their discoveries revolutionized medicine and led to the development of sanitation practices that have saved countless lives. But what's remarkable is that the Bible, written long before microscopes and petri dishes, already emphasized the importance of hygiene. It's almost as if the writers had an intuitive understanding of the principles of disease prevention. This isn't to say that the Bible is a science textbook, of course, but it does demonstrate that ancient wisdom can sometimes align with modern scientific discoveries. The Bible, in this case, highlights the importance of cleanliness and sanitation, principles that are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. So, the next time you wash your hands, remember that you're not just following modern hygiene guidelines. You're participating in a practice that has its roots in ancient wisdom. It's a reminder that sometimes the answers to life's most pressing questions have been right in front of us all along. For centuries, the prevailing view among many cultures was that the earth was flat. Imagine a disc resting on the back of a giant turtle, or elephants holding up the world. These were just some of the colorful explanations people came up with. However, the Bible offered a different perspective. In the book of Isaiah, written around the 8th century BC, it states that God sits enthroned above the circle of the earth. Now, the Hebrew word for circle here can also be translated as sphere. Furthermore, in the book of Job, we find the question, have you comprehended the expanse of the earth? This suggests an understanding that the earth was not simply a flat plane, but a vast and potentially curved surface. Now, I'm not suggesting that the writers of the Bible were expert astronomers. However, these passages indicate that they might have possessed an understanding of the earth's shape that was ahead of their time. It wasn't until the time of the ancient Greeks, with thinkers like Pythagoras and Aristotle, that the idea of a spherical earth began to gain wider acceptance. Aristotle even observed that during lunar eclipses, the Earth's shadow on the moon is always round, further supporting the spherical Earth theory. Then came Ferdinand Magellan's expedition in the 16th century, which famously circumnavigated the globe. This feat provided definitive proof that the Earth is indeed round, putting to rest any lingering doubts about its true shape. But what's fascinating is that the Bible, centuries before Magellan's voyage, already hinted at the Earth's spherical nature. This demonstrates that sometimes ancient texts contain insights that anticipate scientific discoveries. So, the next time someone tells you about the flat Earth theory, remind them that even ancient scriptures, often misinterpreted, suggest otherwise. The Earth, my friends, is a sphere, a cosmic oasis hurtling through the vastness of space. Welcome back, fellow explorers of the cosmos and ancient texts. Today we're diving deep, literally, into the fascinating world of ocean currents. Now you might picture the ocean as this massive, uniform body of water, right? But that's about as accurate as saying all planets are the same. Turns out, the ocean is teeming with these massive, flowing rivers of water, almost like highways beneath the waves. These currents are vital for regulating Earth's climate, transporting heat from the equator to the poles and vice versa. They're also crucial for marine life, acting like conveyor belts delivering nutrients and oxygen. Now you might think that understanding these currents is a relatively recent phenomenon, a product of modern science and sophisticated instruments. But hold on to your telescopes, folks, because we're about to journey back in time. You see, long before we even knew how to map these underwater rivers, there was a verse in the Bible, Psalm 8:8, that hinted at their existence. It talks about the paths of the seas, which, if you ask me, is a pretty intriguing phrase, wouldn't you agree? Fast forward to the 19th century, we meet Matthew Maury, a devout Christian and a pioneering oceanographer. Now, Maury was deeply intrigued by this biblical reference to paths of the seas. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it than met the eye. So Maury, armed with his faith and a healthy dose of scientific curiosity, embarked on a mission to unravel this ancient mystery. He meticulously studied ship logs, charting wind patterns and the speed of ocean voyages. And guess what he found? Evidence of these massive, predictable currents crisscrossing the globe. Maury's discovery was revolutionary. It not only revolutionized navigation, making sea travel faster and more efficient, but also profoundly impacted our understanding of Earth's climate system. Talk about a scientific slam dunk. But what's even more fascinating is how this scientific breakthrough was sparked by a simple verse in the Bible. It speaks volumes about the power of observation, curiosity, and the interconnectedness of the world around us. From the ancient Egyptians who saw the Nile as a source of life to modern medicine, the importance of fluids in living organisms has been a constant theme. But long before microscopes revealed the complexities of blood cells, the Bible declared, "For the life of a creature is in the blood." Now, this isn't just some poetic metaphor. This statement reflects a deep understanding of biology, even if not explicitly stated in the modern scientific sense. Think about it. Blood. This crimson tide that flows through us carries the very essence of life. It transports oxygen from the air we breathe to every cell in our body, fueling the fires of our metabolism. It carries away waste products, ensuring that our cells can function in a clean and healthy environment. And let's not forget the immune system, carried within the very plasma of our blood, defending us from microscopic invaders. The Bible may not have known about leukocytes or antibodies, but it understood the fundamental principle. Life, in a very literal sense, is in the blood. Interestingly, the Bible often links blood with breath, another essential ingredient for life. Remember, this was a time when the mechanics of respiration and circulation were a complete mystery. Yet, there's this intuitive understanding that these two systems are deeply interconnected. We now know that red blood cells, those tiny delivery trucks, are loaded with oxygen in the lungs, thanks to each breath we take. This oxygen is then transported throughout the body, where it's exchanged for carbon dioxide, which is carried back to the lungs to be exhaled. This elegant cycle, this dance of gases and cells, is the very rhythm of life. The Bible might not have had the language of hemoglobin or alveoli, but it recognized the profound connection between blood, breath, and the spark of life that animates us all. It's a testament to the power of observation and the enduring human quest to understand our place in the cosmos. The book of Genesis tells us that, in the beginning, the earth was formless and void, covered in a vast primordial ocean. Now, we're talking about a time billions of years ago, long before the first telescopes, long before the first microscopes. Yet, there's a striking resonance with what we've discovered through modern geology. The earth in its infancy was a hot, molten ball of rock. But as it cooled, water vapor from volcanic eruptions condensed and fell as torrential rain, forming the first oceans. These oceans weren't just passive bodies of water. They played an active role in shaping the planet's surface, carving out canyons, depositing sediments, and even influencing the very movement of continents through plate tectonics. The biblical idea of Earth's foundations in water, while perhaps not a literal blueprint, speaks to an important truth. Water is fundamental to the Earth's story, its past, its present, and indeed, its future. And it's not just the oceans. Water is everywhere on Earth, constantly cycling through the atmosphere, the land, and living organisms. It's in the ice caps and glaciers, the rivers and lakes, and even the groundwater beneath our feet. This interconnected web of water, what we call the hydrosphere, is essential for all life as we know it. It regulates climate, shapes landscapes, and provides a medium for the chemical reactions that are fundamental to biology. The Bible, in its own way, seems to acknowledge this interconnectedness. It speaks of springs that gush forth from the ground, of rivers that flow to the sea, of rain that falls from the heavens. It's a reminder that water is a precious resource, one that we must cherish and protect if we want to ensure the continued flourishing of life on this planet we call home. From the circulation of blood to the foundations of our planet in water, we've seen how the Bible touches upon scientific ideas that were only fully understood centuries later. Now, it's important to remember that the Bible is not a science textbook. It's a collection of texts with spiritual and moral teachings. but its resonance with certain scientific principles should make us think. It reminds us that the universe is full of wonders, waiting to be discovered. It encourages us to ask questions, to explore, to never stop seeking knowledge. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating insights. See you next time.